Hello, Fleet Ready fam. Welcome to Fleet Ready Gaming. My name is Savad, and welcome to a new episode of Salute. Today, we're going to be going over the Squadron 42 monthly report for January 2023. Let's go ahead and get it started. All right. So, the emails came out a couple days ago, and I've been meaning to get this video out, but a couple things popped up that kept me from getting straight to it, but finally found the time, and we're going to go over it in every detail. So, welcome to January Squadron 42 Development Report. Enclosed, you will find details on the latest progress made across the campaign, including enemy perception, updates to the Starmap, exciting, and narrative developments. Thank you for continued support of Squadron 42. Sincerely, CIG Communications. Alright, starting off, AI content. The AI content team began 2023 focusing on behaviors used in the Stanton location. This involved regular reviews and playthroughs to detect and fix issues and looking closely at the chow line and the eat and drink behaviors. The team also created a solid foundation of Maya character rigs that correctly match their in-game counterparts, allowing them to properly investigate and fix numerous problems. Time was also spent reviewing areas with 100% correct prop interaction, which was very satisfying to see. The team also began enabling characters to sit in different styles of seats while drinking and polished animations for the medical cupboard and fuse crate interactions. Lastly, they continued to refine and improve the hygiene and medical behaviors. Awesome to hear that the AI are coming along more, especially for those who don't know, when they're talking about, it's interesting that they say Stanton location. I'm curious if they mean Stanton in the PU, or I'm fairly certain that the Idris or Javelin that's in Squadron 42 is also called the Stanton. So I'm curious on which one they're referring to. Most likely the vessel versus the location. Moving on to AI features. The AI feature team started the year enabling AI characters to throw grenades. We saw this in the PU monthly report. This involved work in multiple different areas, including new logic for when to throw grenades to ensure a challenge without overwhelming the player, parabola collision checking to ensure the grenade lands correctly, and animation so that the AI looks correct when throwing. January also saw the implementation of attack and defend areas. These assignments can be given to AI to direct and control fighting in specific ways. On the most basic level, the defend area is used for limiting where NPCs are positioned when fighting, whereas the attack area is used to limit where they target. When assigned either area, the AI will prepare to fight by equipping their weapons and taking a ready stance before moving to the area on high alert, so perception happens fast and perception reactions are skipped. When defending, the AI will move to a cover point inside the area and defensively peek out. When attacking, they will use the existing investigative behavior to search for hostile forces. The attack area is great for building pressure on the player, whereas the defend area is to provide the player with a tough challenge as AI are hunkered down and ready to fight. The implementation of this feature involved reusing existing systems in new ways, changing the tactile cues, positional and target selection to take into consideration the attack or defend area that the AI may have. The AI team continued to develop the AI for non-humanoid character, including work on group behaviors and attack patterns. They also began developing characterful animations that invoke the real-world creature the creature is modeled after. For example, as the creature fights in packs using melee attacks, the team must consider behaviors that space out the character movements in a natural way, partly so that the player doesn't get overwhelmed, but also so that the characters don't collide with one another when attacking. Certain sections of Squadron 42 include AI fighting alongside the player, known as Buddy AI. Last month, the team developed functionality to control how the buddy plays in these sections, including following behind the player, moving to interest points, and seeking cover. For choosing points to follow behind the player, the team creates a raycast along the navigation mesh to ensure the point is reachable from the leader and that they can move forward without obstruction. Fascinating. I remember when they talked a bit about the Buddy AI for the first time, either it was 2021 or early 2022, and had mentioned that we will be able to have you know AI that are in fighter ships flying alongside us, and that we'd be able to command them in some way. But they had mentioned that the system could be used in the PU as well, so we would have Buddy AI in the PU, which is very fascinating. All right, moving on to AI tech. Late last year, AI Tech completed the first iteration of NPCs driving ground vehicles. Last month, they fixed several related bugs as more designers began using the feature. They also progressed with the feature that enables NPCs to use transit systems like elevators and move between platforms. This time they focused on NPCs using trains to move between locations. This required exposing new functionality on the transit manager and more complex behavior before and during transit. New functionality includes providing more information about the gateways at specific destinations and information about carriages, such as time spent at a destination and time until arrival. On the locomotion side, the team added further support for soft stops and separated them from harsh stops. A soft stop means that an NPC will choose the best animation for stopping even if it will overshoot its destination, while a harsh stop will attempt to stop immediately. Locomotion support was also given for bug fixing and alien creature movement. For the Subsumption Apollo tool, the team progressed with implementing feedback and bug fixing. They also added new functionality to the Subsumption master graph, making it possible to have functions on top of transitions to determine whether a state transition can be done. The usable coordinator was also completed, which allows the designers to specify a selection of usables for NPCs in specific areas and prioritize the order of selection. The feature that allows NPCs to perceive threats through audio and visual stimuli and react to hostile vehicles was completed. In a related area, further updates were made to the behavior that enables NPCs reacting to stimuli to enter combat. That's going to be awesome to see NPCs around the planet be able to react to ships and ground vehicles coming to assault them, whether it's players or other factions, especially in Pyro. It's going to be fascinating to see. AI Tech started work on two new features. One allows overrides for navigation mesh generation so that the team can create navigation meshes for specific agents in narrow areas. For example, this will enable NPCs to traverse areas where only a crouch state is possible, such as vents and underfloor areas. The second feature enables the team to mark areas with increased navigation cost, which will influence the path chosen by NPCs. This will be used to create areas that NPCs should avoid, like areas with fire, or to encourage them to travel on specific areas like a sidewalk. Yeah, this will also be nice, for cities and things like that. And, I know this is for Squadron 42, but this was also in the PU monthly report as well. So seeing NPCs travel in areas that make sense for civilians and just day-to-day people, it's going to make it a lot more immersive for sure. AI vehicle features. The vehicle feature team focused on space combat AI improvements in January. The intent is to have combat AI behave in a more dynamic way that encourages players to move and explore the ship mechanics. This involved breaking the AI into different, well-defined trees, which will help players to identify what kind of enemies they're up against. These improvements also allow for the easier integration of more maneuvers to further increase the skill level and interest of higher level ships. Similarly, AI features worked on new behavior logic to deliver improved atmospheric flight control. This is intended to work with the control surface feature being developed by the vehicle feature team and will lead AI ships tailing and chasing players to get behind them, flying more like a plane when appropriate in atmosphere. They also supported the flight designers on several chapters, adding new smaller features to ease their work when creating mission flow. Several flow block issues were fixed too. Alright, moving on to animation. The animation team began 2023 by making sure their schedule for reaching content complete was agreed upon, which meant aligning closely with up and downstream teams. Development-wise, further progress was made on Zero-G with the devs using some of the lessons learned to help guide work on prone gameplay. They also continued to create new weapons and gadgets, including a trip mine, and worked on restraining and unrestraining. Animation AI teams further developed the Vanduul execution and searching behaviors along with the female Spec Op characters. They're currently working on AI background animations related to eating and drinking, sickness, hygiene, and cargo for social areas. On the facial side, the Chakma character was worked on alongside lines for the AI character combat. The mocap team worked with gameplay animation to schedule an upcoming shoot to keep the AI and player teams supplied with assets. Okay, so definitely animation has been keeping busy. Moving on to engine updates. Sorry, my cat is getting in the way. Come here, Tuco. Oh. Say hello to Tuco. He likes to be the center of attention. Alright, engine. In January, the physics team worked on the triangle vertex and normal transformations for physical triangle meshes, which were rewritten to use SSE AVX, saving 30% of the cost. Furthermore, the physicalization method for ropes can now be chosen per rope entity. On the renderer, various optimizations were implemented into Gen 12. Among other things, this includes performance improvements for transient lists, recording draw requests, a special submission for scene rendering with reduced thread synchronization, and a reduction of calls into the OS for general multi-threading purposes. Additionally, renderer initialization was refactored to prepare for Vulkan. Last month's Gen 12 support for particle refraction now also works as intended. On the core engine, further improvements were made to the remote shader compiler. Last month's work on adding support for huge pages was rolled out internally. Huge pages are now also used within low-level memory allocators. Low-level memory allocator. To further reduce the executable size of the Linux DGS, the Gold linker is now utilized to fold identical functions and various compiler-generated data inside binaries. PageHeap is also now supported for entities, which use a special allocator to make debugging memory corruptions easier. Lastly, more work was done to support V2 of the PK4 files introduced at the end of last year in the internal development tools. Features. Gameplay. The gameplay feature team worked on seamless transitions rather than camera cuts when moving between the player's view and cinematic sequence, both when piloting a ship or walking around. The new field manual Mobiglass app progressed, which collates the tutorials players experienced during the game. Male and female voice selection was added to the application form, and progress on saving and loading was made. Now the team can save the replication layer and restore it, getting back to fundamentally the same state it was left in, including the correct scripted mission modules. A lot of general edge cases were fixed too. Numerous Starmap improvements were made, including better transitions between the real and cosmetic scaling as it is zoomed in and out, correct grid movement when panning, improved culling when objects intersect, and correctly size and align text labels. General iteration following feedback was also made to the application form, character customizer, armor interaction, armory terminal, and mission manager app. So it seems like the Mobiglass and Starmap have definitely been getting a lot of focus, and that's awesome to hear. I can't wait for them to have that be complete for Squadron so we can finally get over to the PU because we desperately need it. Moving on to the features vehicles. Excuse me. January saw the January saw the vehicle feature team improving numerous aspects of vehicle combat, including ship and weapon balance. Tweaks were also made to the HUD and aiming and targeting to further improve combat experience. Vehicle features also began working on radar, having taken it over from the Arena Commander feature team to support the needs of Squadron 42. Recent work included various features in support of the new scanning UI and multifunctional displays. The quantum travel rework is nearing completion. Last month, the team completed quantum spawning, which allows them to spawn AI ships as though they have quantum traveled into an area. This is the last feature required to widely use quantum travel in various chapters. UI also worked on throughout the month. UI was also worked on throughout the month. The MFD rework progressed well, with the team working through numerous technical issues in the UI system. They also fleshed out the new MFD control system, which is designed to be used with keys or gamepad rather than interaction mode. The HUD is also being reworked and integrated heavily with the new MFD systems too. That's awesome to hear. While using the MFD, with the inner thought system has been doable, being able to have the option to use inner thought or just keybinds makes the most sense. Gameplay story. Last month, Gameplay Story used new mocap data across multiple characters and scenes, including creating new animations for Chapter 18 to allow the characters to end the scene in a more realistic way, as well as giving them longer end idles. The new mocap also helped a scene in Chapter 14 where a character holds a data pad in the wrong hand. They now transition from walking with the data pad into the scene seamlessly. A scene was also fixed in Chapter 8 to allow a character to holster their datapad correctly. Changes were made to Chapter 14 following feedback about wanting a character to be able to react if a player followed them down a hallway. Not only can they now turn, deliver a line, and continue walking, they can trigger scenes that start up a conversation with the player. This was done by shooting new mocap to give the character more life and the ability to glance around and realize the player is there. Polish patches were made to various scenes to get them to a much higher standard. One in Chapter 12 required using a previously made animation and altering it through a combination of hand keying and mocap to create a completely new piece where the character delivers their own lines to the player and encourages them to catch up. Several scenes were also improved by changing how the character interacts with the console. This was made more believable following a pass on their hands and fingers so they appear to be pressing keys or typing. Gameplay Story also experimented with the Look At feature for a scene in Chapter 4 as testers had flagged that the character didn't seem to be looking at the player. We chose to do a full pass on both characters and managed to push the Look At to allow them to involve the player in the conversation and make them feel included. We have hit the start of the new year running and are delivering lots of high quality work at a very good pace. Awesome to hear. Super excited to see just the level that Squadron 42 brings. I know that it's going to be an epic for sure. I have high hopes. And it's definitely a heavy dose of copium as well at this point. Level design. Last month, the Space and Dogfight team continued to develop the gameplay experience with the aim of having all dogfight flow seamlessly from social to FPS sections. They also integrated new features and AI improvements as they came online and worked with the vehicle feature team on new flight mechanics such as quantum boost and the atmospheric flight model. Narrative. Alright. Narrative started the year with reviews alongside the design team, with placeholder dialogue being implemented in-game for the additional content generated last year. It is important to playtest and evaluate the adjusted experience before recording the final release quality version with professional actors. No offense to the amazing performances from the team members who volunteered to record the placeholder content. The team is currently finalizing the mocap schedule with the breakdown of what's ready to be recorded and what still needs fine-tuning. Another focus for January was the game's assorted collectible and discoverable narrative content, including messages that the player will find if they explore areas and interact with data pads and terminals. Part of this process consists of chapter-by-chapter walkthroughs to ensure content is appropriately paced. Additionally, the team outlined new personal comm messages the player will receive throughout the campaign from various characters. While some messages in the main game flow had already been written, the team wanted to expand on them to provide even more narrative content that will tie into the player's actions and decisions. Finally, Narrative worked with the core gameplay pillar design team to create detailed reviews of the interactive terminals that players will use for things like puzzle solving and navigating. The narrative team is helping to ensure that the language used on the displays is not only clear and concise, but thematically appropriate for the universe. UI. The UI team added new debugging tools to help them manage building blocks along a new array of widgets to speed up their workflow. The Starmap progressed visually, with the team adding several elements to help with navigation and completing a polished pass. Alongside concepting visual improvements for various parts of the game, including radial menus, the UI art and design teams shifted focus to work on functional UI. Several of the game teams began creating complex screens based on concepts which were returned to the UI tech team to ensure the interaction look and feel good. They also tweaked some of the crosshairs to improve the combat experience and continued to develop the looks for 2 or more manufacturer-specific vehicle UIs. And lastly, VFX. Last month, VFX continued their work on locations, collaborating closely with art and design. The particle library overhaul mentioned in last month's report was completed, allowing the team to turn their efforts towards making sure all locations benefit from these improvements moving forward. Elsewhere, the team continued to tweak and refine the new quantum travel effects. And that does it. All right. Whole bunch of stuff. A lot of it was, mirrored the PU monthly report a lot, but that makes sense. It's all work that goes towards the same projects. But honestly, the work that went into gameplay for both the narrative and for the core engine with the Starmap and MFD rework was really interesting to hear. Please let me know what's most exciting for you out of this report down in the comment section. I'd love to strike up a conversation. Yeah, a lot of exciting stuff, and hopefully, with a lot of speak of, final polishes and passes, here and there throughout this article, it really does seem like we're starting to see the finish line, here. Hopefully there's not too many more roadblocks that stop them from being able to keep this momentum. That being said, thank you so much, guys, for coming and watching our video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. It helps YouTube put our channel into the algorithm and allows more people to find us, and it means a lot. And if you feel like we've earned it, please consider subscribing to us. We're a small channel, currently sitting at 29 members, but we're looking to grow to 100 by the end of the year. And yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful night, and look forward to more content coming here soon. With that being said, peace.